Okay, so testing the shoulders, really you end up, if you use macro identifies micro as a construct or as a concept, you test the girdle, right? So you understand that the arm should be able to go all the way up in 2 major arcs. You will have at least your minor internal external rotation in either one. When testing in seated, so we'll try to go through the positions. I'm not going to show prone because it's just not worth it, right? It's really hard on me. The table's in the way. It's just not worth it. But seated, supine, and lateral have some benefit. Lateral, the constant problem is you can't compare, but you can find what seem like obvious problems within the side that you're checking. So one of the problems that I'm going to have with the shoulder is visual relief in seated, because I have to test in a way where I can control him. So I have to have some kind of contact. I can be in front of him, but that means that I'm going to have a harder time controlling his torso. It's not impossible, but I'll have a hard time. If I'm more or less behind and I come to this side, I can stay tight and I can lift, right? So interestingly, there's another thing that I should note is I usually want to match my forearm to some part of his arm, whether it's his humerus or his forearm. But we're already getting resistance there, you agree? Okay. It'll go farther. Oh, no, it won't go much farther. Did you do something more to this?
No.
Okay. It's not usually this bad.
It doesn't hurt, but
Yeah.
it's not moving very
Yeah.
good.
And then there, right? So I've got good contact and good control. Like this is just, like, I don't even know if I could get it to go farther. If I put it over here, kind of. So if I come out of plane, it'll go farther, but like if it's here, no. It's worse than I thought. I didn't think it was like that. Is it always like that?
No.
Okay. So then this one, right? There's resistance, but like kind of normal deltoid resistance. It'll go. And I swear I wasn't shortchanging the other one.
No.
And then there's resistance. This is kind of normal deltoid type resistance. Like it'll go farther. If I tried to do it at the same time, visual relief becomes my problem. It's hard. I'm like totally breathing on his hair. Right? Like, right? So it makes it more obvious because I can see his hands, but it's way more work on me. Right? So I'm a particular size, he's a particular size. You'll get way more patient practitioner mismatches when you try to do something like that in seated. But you can see, it's really obvious which shoulder is the problem. It's this one. It's really obvious. Lay on your back, please. Actually, lay on your side. We'll do it that way. Yeah, facing that way. Nope.
Oh, for the left.
Oh, you want me to check the bad one?
I thought you were, yeah.
Oh.
That's how that works.
Okay. So something that you want to be aware of is being close to what you're working on, right? From down here, right, I have to reach. From here, I can walk and I can feel it. So again, in abduction, there's resistance here. This is kind of normal deltoidish resistance because if I bring them over here, it's fine. Right? It's kind of deltoid pec type stuff, whether it is or not. So like this is fine, right? If I'm over here, there's kind of a pinch about there. That's not weird, right? I can do it with this hand. You can kind of protect, you can keep the scapula stable, right? So you're going to run out. If you let the scapula roll, you can get more range out of it. So if the hand's on top, it's easy to block the scapula, so it'll look worse than it is and your hand's in the way. This isn't a problem. This will work. You just have to be able to let the scapula ride. Sometimes you do this just to protect the GH. You can turn this into a GH glide, but you do it to protect. And then here, this is hard on me. I'm reaching farther. This is easier on me because I'm bringing my arm closer to me. So from the hardest part, I bring it back to the easiest part, right? So this hand, hard on me because I have to reach. I'm going across my body. This hand, easy, comparatively, okay? We will have you flip to the other side, so flip your head up there just so it's, because I would rather, actually, no, you know what? Face me first. So you guys can see this is weird. So in lateral, your test is shoulder, but this is really obviously weird because he's looking right at me. And now it doesn't matter what he likes. This is weird. I will not do that closer contact, sir. No, thank you. Okay. So now the other thing is, look, Like, depending on what I'm doing, right? Like, I can really mess around. I can't control him as well. It's just tougher. So now, please excuse the spinning. Head up there, right side up. Thank you kindly. So you're probably going to see a difference in what I end up getting out of this test, right? So, oh no. Yeah. So like you see how I can get a little bit more movement out of him? Whoa, sorry. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why you got to be careful when you bring shoulders down. You didn't hear it, you didn't see it, but it clunked, right? So that's about it. Like that's kind of it. So it's similar as to when he was in seated. Now I'm going to be smart and bend his elbow. And it still did it. Right? Yeah, like this is just a trashy shoulder. Right? So you can see, right?
Trashy.
Yeah, it's a trailer park shoulder. Like I'm not saying well, trashy, right? We're trashy. Head up there. Head up there. On your back. What's that?
Nobody lives in a trailer.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, some people do.
Maybe in this room.
Oh, in this room? I don't know.
Just call them trash.
No, I said trashy shoulder.
Then you said trailer shoulder.
Or whatever. Okay. So now you see, I can see this really obviously, right? Sorry. But it's a little bit more work on me. It's a little bit less control. It's not bad, but the way that I'll have to move them, I have to be really careful, right? Whereas I can stay real close to it. Please excuse my back. And I can stabilize. Now, because he's in supine, I can get a little bit more movement and safely out of him. And then bend the elbow to bring it down, right? And then I can remember, at least in a case like this, I can do one and then I can do the other. Right? Like this isn't that good. It's just really not that good. But it's not as bad as the other one. So as far as testing the shoulder, being close to it, not reaching too far, not being too twisted. If I can test both arms at the same time, I can get a really good sense of which one is the worse one as far as movement is concerned, especially if it's a little bit more obscure. But it's a little bit harder on me in how I make that movement. So contact as control is still important, moving smoothly and slowly. And one of the major keys to shoulders is when you start to bring them away from the body, the problems you run into in most people or the unexpected stuff is on the way down, as happened to me, right? So it's much better if you tend to bend the elbow and then bring it down. You get benefit for yourself and for the patient out of making sure that you do that. The other deal is the reason I am not checking internal external rotation necessarily is because you don't often find super meaningful problems in those movements first. You find meaningful problems in gross motion, at least with Blake. In this case, it's very obvious that the right shoulder just has a problem. I don't really need to check all the small stuff in the left shoulder. I don't really need to. I should because the left shoulder isn't great. But the right shoulder is the obvious problem. That's where I'm going to go. And then I'm going to zoom in on it and do smaller tests to figure out where I should work. Generally speaking, because of how the musculature works, I don't have to test internal external rotation because I already know that the shoulder's a problem. So if I can clean this motion up, internal external rotation will probably get better because the muscles that are doing that are the muscles that will generate internal external rotation. It's the same stuff. So I don't usually have to get into those smaller movements if the big movement's a big problem. Right? So I want the big thing first. I probably have to do small things to fix the big thing. Right? So like I need to work on everything on this shoulder. Right? So I'm just going to have to work around it. But you get the general concept that I can just do a big movement. I can find which shoulder is the problem, regardless of position, aside from prone, because that sucks. Don't worry. Don't bother with it in most cases. If for some reason somebody can only be in prone, then you figure it out. But I doubt that that's going to be anybody who presents with shoulder problems for you. So contact is control, relational motion, knowing that the big motion, macro identifies micro, the big motion is made up of smaller things. We know I have to work on the right one. There's no question. And then I would have to explore around that. And then the smaller movements will probably be dealt with appropriately if that big movement is better, in most cases. You should still know how to check them, internal, external rotation, but you probably don't have to because it's just obvious it's the right shoulder. Right? So no. Thank you.